You won't imagine what happened in Brazil. A farmer saw a UFO land right on his field, but he didn't realize something unreal would happen later on. He was immediately abducted for the whole night and found himself sick when he came back. But experts are now connecting this to other UFO sightings in the region, dating back to decades ago. Is there a UFO wave in Brazil?
Clear, it's in color, and it shows this just magical looking 100-foot long diamond-shaped craft that is clear as a bell.
Brazilian farmer UFO abduction. In October 1957, the world didn't believe it when a 23-year-old Brazilian farmer named Antonio Vilas Boas claimed an experience that would become one of the first and most famous post-war alien abduction narratives. He lived and worked on his family farms near the town of São Francisco de Sales in the state of Minas Gerais. On the night of October 5th, after 11 p.m., he noticed a fluorescent silver light illuminating the yard. The light moved toward his window and shone through the shutters. But he thought nothing of it. Over the next few days, further unusual events took place. On October 14th, while he was plowing the field with his brother, he found a bright red light hovering about 100 meters above the field. The light darted between positions and emitted rays in many directions before it disappeared. Then, in the early hours of October 15th, while working alone, he saw what appeared to be a red star grow in size as it approached. It revealed itself as a large egg-shaped craft, with a spinning dome, metal spikes protruding from its sides, and landing legs. His tractor's engine died when he tried to run. But after the UFO landing, something unreal happened moments later. At this point, he was seized by small humanoid figures wearing tight gray cloth suits and helmets. One grabbed his arm, and then 3 more joined and lifted him into the craft. Inside, he saw rooms of polished metal with lights embedded in walls and ceilings. The beings communicated in strange barks and yelps. He was ordered into one room, stripped of clothing, covered with clear gel, and later had blood drawn from his chin via tubes connected to glass flasks. In a later room, he felt nauseous from a gray smoke-filled chamber. Then, he encountered a naked humanoid female being. He described her as extraordinarily beautiful, but unusual, with white skin, bleached blonde hair, large slanted blue eyes, red underarm and pubic hair, and a tall, slender body with wide hips. But then, it gets really weird. He revealed that after they had intercourse, she pointed to her belly, then at him, and then upwards to the sky. After the ordeal, the craft descended rapidly. The ladder retracted and the legs folded in, but the dome rotated and changed colors, and the object sped away southwards at fantastic velocity. He said that he might have been on that craft for over 4 hours. In the days and weeks that followed, Vilas Boas found himself sick. He had nausea, headaches, burning eyes, an aching body, and purplish skin lesions. A Brazilian physician examined him in February 1958 and suggested that the symptoms resembled radiation exposure, though tests were limited. Of course, many people were skeptical about his testimony, with some saying it was a hoax and others suspecting it was because of media influence. But shockingly, Vilas Boas never recanted and kept the words the same over the years. He later became a lawyer, got married, and had children. He maintained his account until he passed away in 1991. When the man in Brazil filmed a terrifying UFO landing, no one expected that something surreal would happen. It's one of the most shocking UFO landing and alien abduction cases out there, but many years after that happened, there was another UFO case in Varginha, Brazil, attracting the attention of the government. Varginha UFO crash, 1996. In January 1996, the sleepy Brazilian town of Varginha in Minas Gerais found itself at the center of what many call the country's Roswell event. On the 20th of January, three young women, sisters Lilian and Valkyria Silva, and their friend Katia Xavier, reported seeing a strange creature in the Jardim Andere neighborhood. It was the strangest thing they had ever seen. About 4 feet tall, with oily, dark brown skin, a large head, 3 bumps on its skull, and huge red eyes. In the hours and days that followed, more reports emerged of a cigar-shaped craft trailing white smoke and military convoys moving swiftly. And even the local fire department and hospital were involved. It seemed like they were retrieving some non-human entities. Early on, 18 to 20 January, a large elongated craft was seen hovering or maneuvering over rural fields and wooded areas near Varginha. One couple, Aurelina Augusta de Freitas and Eurico Rodriguez de Freitas, claimed to have watched a submarine-shaped object sized like a school bus, hovering just meters above their farmland, belching white mist or smoke. Meanwhile, civilians reported ground impressions, like unusual debris, and a strong ammonia or sulfur-like odor lingering in the air. By the afternoon of the 20th of January, the creature reports erupted. Many people were afraid and yet interested in what had happened in that place. Residents called the emergency services, firefighters were dispatched, and military vehicles appeared in the area. But the Brazilian authorities tried to shut things down. They gave mundane explanations for everything that happened in Varginha. They claimed that a military police investigation revealed that what the girls saw was a mentally disabled local man and that the military vehicle movements were routine maintenance operations. Still, many ufologists and civilian witnesses say that aircraft of the United States Air Force type entered the region, removed debris, captured or killed strange creatures, and then went on to cover everything up. In fact, some revealed that a hospital wing was sealed off and a dead creature was transported under military guard, allegedly autopsied, and removed. Some even claimed that one of the local firefighters who handled the creature became gravely ill and died shortly afterwards. Varginha remains one of the most compelling UFO sightings in Brazil. But if you fast forward to 2025, it would shock you that there are other surprising sightings today. In 2025 alone, Brazil saw high UFO activity that has scientists scrambling again like they did in 1996. UFO sightings in Brazil in 2025. Since the beginning of 2025, there have been many UFO sightings in Brazil. On January 6, 2025, near Mococa in the state of São Paulo, 2 lights were observed by 2 witnesses in the early evening. One was a very bright, lightly bluish, cigar-shaped object, followed at a slower pace by a second object. The reporting individual noticed that the lights came from the northwest, and one of them passed in front of the moon before the second trailed. About a month after that happened, on February 14th, 3 observers in São Vicente, São Paulo, watched a large cigar-shaped object with a blue aura for about 1 hour. The object was positioned at an elevation of about 45 degrees, held a steady position, and drew the attention of the witnesses, who described its distinctive form and glow. Then on February 27, 2025, in a mountainous region of Minas Gerais, a resident reported seeing 2 white lights moving in circles and then in a straight line, changing brightness throughout the sequence. The lights were observed for about 20 minutes, and then they interacted in a manner that suggested controlled motion instead of a simple natural phenomenon. Later, on April 26, 2025, an incident in Arara, Paraíba, attracted even more scientists to Brazil to explore the UFO situation. There were 2 fixed white sphere lights, orbiting one another under a clear night sky. As all these UFO sightings emerge, Brazilians are more interested in what's happening in their country. In May 2025, a luminous object with a smoky trail was reported in Sobradinho, and although it wasn't exactly recorded, it just shows that residents are paying more attention to anomalies and UFOs in the region. Not only this year, but also in the previous years, Brazil has seen high UFO activity. In 2008 alone, there was a shocking UFO sighting that attracted the attention of military police and civilians. 2008 Brazil UFOs. In the late evening of November 19, 2008, the small Brazilian town of Claudio, in Minas Gerais, became the site of what is now known as the most remarkable UFO event in Brazil's modern history. Just before a Brazil-Portugal soccer match, local resident Renata Veloso Guerque Austriaco observed from her apartment a hexagonal luminous object, along with two spherical crafts orbiting. At the same time, the streetlights in the Bela Vista neighborhood started failing as the strange aerial phenomenon passed by. Shocked by his wife's sighting, Captain Eisenhower Guerque Austriaco of the local military police platoon observed the lights, dispatching a patrol team consisting of Corporal Hamilton Jose Rebelo, Private Heverton Francisco, and Private Balbino to the site. The officers drove through Highway MG 260 into a sugarcane plantation, where they found themselves face to face with a bright yellow-white light moving steadily, maintaining altitude and speed, before taking a pause as the team approached. This was more credible because the man in Brazil took 3 photos of the sighting. The event happened for about 25 minutes, where the object ascended vertically, changed position, performed circular movements, and vanished. Witnesses described its shape as rectangular with oval sides, roughly the size of a microbus, and issuing a xenon-like white beam. They said that the light that came out of the opening cut through its entire center. But things got even worse the next day. The same police were patrolling near the village of São Bento when something unreal happened. There were 2 luminous humanoid beings about 90 centimeters tall, gliding through the sugarcane fields, and they weren't even touching the ground. The officers were traveling in a Mitsubishi pickup and claimed that the beings stayed ahead of them, even at 20 kilometers per hour, leading the patrol nearly to a pond. When they returned the next day, the pond had vanished, and all they found was grass and a ravine. What's more, all the officers started to fall sick, with symptoms like fatigue, headache, and heavy limbs, and even their cars were failing. The incident quickly attracted the attention of ufologists and the public because of all the witnesses, formal police documents, photos, and anomalous physical and electrical effects. But about 6 years before that, UFOs were spotted in Brazil that suddenly disappeared. 2002 Brazil UFO. In 2002, there was another shocking UFO sighting near São Paulo that remains part of Brazil's selection of unexplained aerial events. Witnesses noticed a round gray object that stayed motionless in the sky for a time, and then suddenly shot upward vertically and disappeared. This sighting stands out because it fits a recurring pattern in Brazilian UFO lore: objects appearing statically, then departing abruptly, behavior often described as unlike conventional aircraft or natural phenomena. While many of the sightings are from São Paulo state, details are sparse beyond the basic shape and motion pattern, and no publicly available radar data, photographs, or official documentation have surfaced to corroborate the claim. To make this even more interesting, Brazil has amassed a substantial historical record of UFO reports. As of 2025, national records show nearly 900 documented sightings between 1952 and 2023, including images, testimonies, and public filings. Because of this, the 2002 São Paulo event joins a long tradition of aerial anomaly reports in Brazilian airspace. It's a tradition that often mixes personal testimony, fleeting observations, and uncertainty. But many skeptics don't agree with this because there isn't any verification. There were no media reports, radar logs, or follow-up by aviation authorities. For ufologists, this is another sign that something strange is happening in Brazil. And then, the year before that, there was another strange UFO in Brazil. 2001 Brazil UFO. In March 2001, near Canoas, in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil, a commercial aircraft commander reported a shocking UFO sighting that has now become one of the leading UFOs. The pilot was going to Porto Alegre around 4:50 p.m. under clear skies. But you won't believe what happened next. There was a long, cylindrical-shaped object hovering in a pendular motion. The object appeared roughly the length of a Boeing 737 and was white. The sighting lasted about a minute, long enough that the pilot felt compelled to alert authorities. And at the same time, he wanted to remain anonymous because it's never good news for a pilot who sees a UFO. The 2001 Canoas event stands out for different reasons. It was witnessed by a trained, experienced pilot. It happened in clear atmospheric conditions, and it involved an aircraft that was already in flight. It meant the observer had a direct vantage without any obstruction or confusion from group-based lights. But the sighting is still unverified, and it's difficult to find proof. There were no radar logs, air traffic control confirmations, or official aviation records from that date. In Brazil, thousands of UFO incidents happened from 1952, but this was one of the shocking options. Brazil has its fair share of UFO sightings, but those from the 1900s are the most shocking and documented. One of these was in 1986, when Brazil saw the most extraordinary and well-documented mass UFO sighting in the country's history. Night of the UFOs. On the evening of May 19, 1986, residents thought that they were seeing an isolated sighting, but it quickly escalated into a full-blown air defense alert, with radar locks, multiple visual observations, and a military response that lasted hours. The first anomaly happened around 1830 at the tower of São José dos Campos Airport. Air traffic controller Sergio Mota da Silva saw two bright lights hovering in the sky. It was a sight so unexpected that radar systems started to detect unidentified returns at the same time. In just a few minutes, stations like Guarulhos and Brasília reported multiple targets. As the number of contacts rose, the Força Aérea Brasileira, FAB, was put on full alert. By late evening, 5 fighter jets, a combination of F-5 and Mirage 3 aircraft, were scrambled from bases across the country, including Santa Cruz and Anápolis. Their mission: intercept and, if possible, visually identify the unknown objects. The pilots said that the object was moving in a way that no other aircraft could do. The glowing orbs were hovering, darting at tremendous speeds, changing colors, and even maneuvering with sudden sharp turns. This includes abrupt accelerations that were many times faster than sound. In fact, one pilot revealed that dozens of lights surrounded his aircraft, with 6 on each side. On May 23, 1986, just 4 days after the events, the then Minister of Aeronautics, Octavio Julio Moreira Lima, held a public press conference acknowledging the incident. Flanked by pilots and traffic controllers, he confirmed that 21 unidentified flying objects had been observed and pursued. Yet despite the chase, none were captured or conclusively identified. Although some people knew about this, the government kept the information secret. It wasn't until 2009 that the dossier was declassified and offered shocking insights into this UFO sighting. According to the document, the phenomena displayed patterns that were definitely from intelligent control. not just random balls of light or atmospheric anomalies. The tracks detected by radars, the coordination of multiple objects across a wide region, and the failures of military interceptors contributed to the enduring mystery. But what makes this UFO so significant? There is enough proof, like civilian testimony, military radar data, and official government acknowledgement. Meanwhile, in the late 1970s, there was another UFO sighting in Brazil that left scientists running front and back. Operation Saucer. The episode known as Operation Saucer remains one of the most controversial and intriguing chapters in Brazil's UFO lore. Between late 1977 and early 1978, residents of Colares Island, a remote archipelago in the northern state of Pará, began reporting a series of strange phenomena. There were luminous objects hovering low over the rainforest and coastline, often at night, and in many cases, beams of light reportedly striking people on the ground. These lights came to be ominously called chupa chupa, which means sucker sucker, because local accounts describe the beams as extracting blood or energy from those they hit. Residents told of flashes that would sweep across fields and rivers, sometimes seeming to follow or target individuals. People struck by the light described sensations of burning or paralysis, and local doctor Waleed Sesim Carvalho later treated dozens of alleged victims. Many exhibited strange skin lesions, puncture-like marks, hair loss, temporary weakness or paralysis, lingering fatigue, and symptoms reminiscent of radiation exposure. There was reddening and darkening of skin, hair falling out, and general systemic weakness. Fear spread quickly across Colares. According to accounts, many women and children fled the island, while men kept watch with bonfires, fireworks, and noise-making whenever the UFOs appeared. Local authorities and terrified residents eventually appealed to the national military for assistance. In response, the Brazilian Air Force launched Operation Saucer under the leadership of Urangue Holanda. The operation deployed personnel, cameras, film equipment, radar tracking devices, and medical support to document the phenomena. Over the course of the mission, the military reportedly collected hundreds of photographs and hours of film footage, along with official logs of unusual sightings. Still, after several months of investigation, including interviews with dozens of witnesses, photographic and film evidence, and medical examinations, the official conclusion was that no evidence of unusual phenomena could be confirmed. The military formally closed the investigation and withdrew, classifying all documentation. When a man in Brazil filmed a terrifying UFO landing, something shocking happened afterwards. This farmer saw the UFO land but didn't realize when he was taken away by aliens for over 4 hours. But this isn't the end of Brazil's troubles, as it has had UFOs from the 1950s till today, 2025. Were the UFOs real or just a hoax? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. So, thanks for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one.